Hello, everybody, and welcome back to Broken Berean. And we're going to take a dive into my memory lane. Working last night on a computer, I got a random thought that I couldn't quite shake, and it was, hey, remember that video game that you and your best friend played when you were in junior high that drove you mad because you couldn't figure it out? It was so hard, the puzzles were difficult. It's just, we struggled on it for so long we couldn't remember it. I could see us sitting there, and finally, I was just like, Island. It was something Island. And then it was like, oh, it's Monkey Island. Yes. What was it? It was Secrets to Monkey Island. And I was like, that's the game. I remember it, and it just hit me, and I was like, oh, I want to look that up. I just wanted to dive down into memory lane, and I was like, oh, but what I found was much more. So the Monkey Island series has continued on since 1993. When first I attempted to play this with my best friend, spending hours comparing it to animated Mist, and it was just, it was such a struggle and such a conundrum trying to figure out some of these puzzles. And it could be for the fact that we were 13 or the fact that it is really that hard. I don't know. Don't know yet. But what I did find out is it just released, well, not just released, 2 years ago in 2022, they released a new version of it called Return to Monkey Island. Here it is. It's available on pretty much every platform, which is incredible. I had a random memory of a game I played 30 years ago pop into my head, only to find out it wasn't just a one-time game. They've continued it. So let's just quickly just kind of take a look. They've made multiple games. Secret of Monkey Island was the original one, and I remember playing it with my best friend, and I messaged him last night. I was like, do you remember this game? He's like, yes. I'm like, it still exists. They're still making these games. He's like, oh, I hated that game. I was like, I know. He played it multiple hours without me because it was his game, but when I'd come over, we'd try and try and try, and we just could not make progress. This is 1993, where you couldn't just type in something on YouTube and see how someone figured it out because they made a walkthrough or tutorial. This is the early days of the internet, so there wasn't much out there, and we're just stumped trying to figure some of this out. We had notepads we were writing stuff down on, trying to figure this stuff out, trying to figure out these puzzles. I remember it fondly, yet frustratingly. And then I realized, oh, they made a second one, and I was like, maybe I do remember them mentioning it, reading it. LeChuck's Revenge. LeChuck is a zombie pirate, I believe, and he's in the first one. He's kind of like the main villain. But let's kind of back up. I should back up just a little bit. What is Monkey Island? It is a puzzle point and click game. So I was like, okay. So you're walking around Monkey Island trying to solve puzzles to find treasure. And you are, I want to get his name right because I've messed it up before, Guybrush Threepwood. Guybrush Threepwood. Guybrush Threepwood. There, I've said both names correctly. All right. So basically, what it is it's like this young little goofy guy, and this is a very common story. He's just this weird, goofy little guy who doesn't have it. He's not very remarkable in any way. Just kind of very slanky looking nerd type guy. He's like, I'm going to be a pirate, like someone else we know, and he's going to find this treasure and become this famous and wealthy pirate. And he falls in love with the governor of Monkey Island, who is Elaine Marley. And LeChuck is, like I said before, an undead pirate, not a zombie, I guess. You can look at it either way. But these three characters are the characters that go throughout the franchise. And so it's just a fun point and click game. And it was very frustrating. And if I had to guess, we may have gotten a quarter, at best a third of the way through that game. And I don't think I don't remember what was the catalyst for just being like, we're uninstalling this game and we're never touching it again. I don't remember what that moment was. I do remember like trying to cook a fish and a piece of rock in a pot on the what do you call it, on the dock to try to solve one puzzle. I remember that, and that's about all I can remember of the game. Really, I don't remember much, but I remember, we played that and it was frustrating. So I just kind of started diving down this hole and was like, wow, Monkey Island still. They made more than one. They made Curse of the Monkey Island, which was the third one. It came out in '97. So the first three games came out in the '90s. I definitely knew the first one. I think I remember hearing about the second one. I definitely did not hear about the third one. And the fourth one came out in 2001. Definitely had no idea. Escape from Monkey Island. And then they did this weird little fifth installment. It's kind of an offshoot, Tales of Monkey Island. It was like different episodes that they released. Like you purchased it. This is kind of way back in the early kind of. You see this more in type of gaming today, but I don't know what you call it. But it'd be more like DLC releases, kind of. You paid for the first episode, and you paid for the second, and the third, and the fourth, and the fifth. I believe there was five. Yeah, 5 different episodes. And each episode was a different part of the story. And that came out in '09. Then they did Return of Monkey Island. So that came out in 2012. So, yeah, I'm sorry. It didn't come out 2 years ago. It came out in 2012. So I was just like, that's crazy. And apparently I was reading through the Wikipedia article, just reading more about it. There's little Easter eggs and different Lucasfilm properties because Lucasfilm was a major backer of this game. It was made through their gaming studio. I think it's called LucasArts, but Lucasfilm owned it. It was a gaming division that was around the early Star Wars games. Lucasfilms. It's called LucasArts, and just so that was kind of cool. And I was like, and even came down there. There was actually a point where they're going to take this franchise to make a Pixar film. And my first thought was, I want it. I want it so bad. I want something that is going to play to the nostalgia of some of us really old gamers that are like, wow, this is crazy. And so I'm like, yeah. And I did, because I was reading it. This article is like, okay, I'll read it because I'm going to go through all the games eventually. And just for nostalgia's sake, or at least until I become so frustrated, I just delete them and just leave them in my Steam library. But the initial secret of Monkey Island that they conceived of in the original game was he was going to be doing all this, only to come to find out that he was doing all this inside a pirate-themed amusement park, which would have been hilarious, and I would have loved that if that was the Pixar movie. That would have been great. I don't think Pixar has any deal with them, but I mean, Disney owns Pixar and Lucas, and they can do it. This would be a funny movie, because I don't know how well it would do. It may just be terrible. I don't know, and that's why I got scrapped. I don't know, but that's funny. But Return to Monkey Island exists still, and this is how it is. I mean, I'm just on the website, but it's point and click. You go, you do things, you interact. It's all keyboard and mouse. It's not controller, but I'm sure the newer version can adapt to controller. Haven't really looked into it. Haven't gone that far in the game, but I went and looked, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna get this. So they have the entire collection, with the exception of Tales of Monkey Island, all the major games. And I went ahead and bought it last night, knowing full well that if I actually tried to play it, I wouldn't sleep last night. So I'm going to start playing it this evening after I get done making this video, because there's nothing like nostalgia to make you feel warm and fuzzy inside, and there's nothing like gaming to make you excessively frustrated at playing a game. So it's going to be the best of both worlds. I can't wait. So let's just take a look real quick at these. Let's see if it'll pop over. I don't want to do the sound, but this is what it looked like, and I remember it this way. I mean, for 93, this was top tier graphics, and you're like, oh, that looks kind of interesting. That looks kind of cool, and it was. And I'm not even sure we got to this, the voodoo woman. I don't even think we got to her. If we did, I don't. No, I guess we did. Maybe we. I don't remember. It's been so long. But this is the kind of the graphics. I mean, it's kind of, and that's what I'm gonna see when I start playing tonight. But and then we jumped to that's 93. But the special edition came out a few years later. But it basically looks exactly the same to my recollection. The second one, let's stop that. Don't get. I mean, the graphics improved a little bit. You know, we got a little bit better graphics. I mean, this is how you collect, give, pick up, use, push, and there's keyboard shortcuts for all these. But that's it. And I mean, this little pirate scene of Guybrush always talking to the pirates here, that seems to be a common theme and a common starting point and rally point kind of mid-credit scenes for all the games. He keeps telling these guys, oh, well, now what are you going to do? Now what are you going to do? This seems to be like the recap and the cutscene venue of choice for this series. And The Curse of Monkey Island, now we get a little bit more of the animated style graphics. There we go. So this gives the look of what you'd see like from what some of us recognize as like Dragon Lair animation video games. And so it's more like animated, and you can trigger the walking and the actions, but it's not graphical in its nature. It's animated in its nature. And so that makes it kind of interesting. But it makes more sense to do that on a PC rather than a console, because it can load a lot more of these animations in active memory. But and then let's see. Then we get to this animation, which was like, hey, this is the new upper graphics animation that came out really weird. This is 2000, so this is, you know, it's like a notch above GoldenEye, but still kind of wonky looking. Not really. The people look a little weird, but this is about par for these full-scale, full-body animations for the time that I recall. This is about when I left gaming by the wayside, because I had stuff I was doing in life and a lot of things going on that I didn't touch games for a long time. And then we get back to the Return to Monkey Island, which is the newest one. There we go. Let's stop that. And it is, I don't know what you would call this style of animation. It's more anime, adult animation style drawing and cartooning. It's not my cup of tea. Like, if this was a show, I probably wouldn't watch it. It'd probably just hurt my eyes. But I'm going to give it, hopefully I make it this far and give it a shot. I mean, I paid for it. Let's get there. But then the Tales of Monkey Island, these are weird, and this is worse than Return to me. This style of graphics, it's just PS1 level graphics. It's cringe to me. I just don't like the look of it. Some people do, and that's great. I have no problem. But this is just my personal opinion. I don't like the look of these graphics. And I am a little bummed that it's separate and I'll have to buy it separate. And I just put it on my wish list. And I was just like, I'll come back to it once I get through all the games. Which, based on my memory of doing the first one as a very young teenager, is going to be probably sometime next year. Hopefully it's still on sale. Because I think it's on 50% off right now. I have no idea why it's on sale now. And it just wasn't one of those things I went looking for. It's just like, hey, I had this thought, this memory, and I'm jumping down into nostalgia. And this is where I came out last night. It was just like, hey, I'm gonna look up that game real quick, and here I am. I'm back. I'm ready to go. I'm ready to dive back down into 1993 and start playing some old school games. And honestly, that's like half my Steam account. No, I'd say it's more than half my Steam account. I am currently playing Sandland on Steam, and but this, and I've got like SimCity and like all the Command and Conquer games. I mean, my Steam account is just retro games, and with the all the craziness that's going on that I've talked about before, I think games like this are going to start making a comeback on Steam. You're going to see a lot of people like, you know what? Fine. We're going to go back and revisit games we played when we were kids, when we were younger. We're going to go back to games from like a decade ago, 2 decades ago. I'm pulling out ones from 3 decades ago, and I'm going to be playing them. Why? Because it's fun, whether it's frustrating or not. That's the reason I pull out my NES and play like games like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles and spend 2 hours trying not to swear at the screen at the water level. Battletoads, going through that entire game, trying to go through that entire game without spontaneously sprouting brand new gray hairs from frustration. I mean, I'm pulling out all this old stuff. I mean, I've got the NES games on my Switch. I've got the NES Classic, SNES Classic, and every time my kids get frustrated with the game, I'm like, power up one of the classics. We're gonna play something. They're like, these games are so hard. Yes, they were designed to be super hard because they didn't want you to finish playing them if when you rented them from a video game store over the weekend. They wanted you to buy them. So all these games were exceptionally hard, and that was the gaming mindset. We want you to be just dialed into playing our game as long as possible until we can get to the next one. And it worked. It did. So I'm now back into vintage gaming again. And yeah, I know it makes me old, but I don't care. It does add a whole layer of fun, and I absolutely cannot wait. It's going to be the fun frustration of just being a teenager again, just pulling me back 3 decades to be like, oh, this is what gaming was like. And me messaging my best friend, you can't believe what game is doing. And I mean, I'm sure now I can find answers easily online now, 3 decades later. I'm sure it won't be a problem, but I'm going to do my best not to look anything up just because that's the fun of it. But I mean, even he was kind of like, are you really going to do that? And I was like, yes, I am. I was like, I just did it. I just downloaded all of them last night. He's like, you're insane. I was like, yes, I can't wait. I go, I may never finish the first game, and I may just have to start the second one because I'm too frustrated. Maybe I have better luck with the second or the third, fourth, or fifth. I don't know. But I'm just going to have fun playing these classic games. The Monkey Island franchise that I honestly did not know exist less than 12 hours ago. I am now fully invested into playing this entire franchise from a random thought I had while fixing a computer. That's how this all started, and that's what I love about my insane brain. It just pulls random stuff out and be like, hey, remember this? Wow, that's pretty cool. Yes, let's do that. Yes. This is how to have fun, relax, pick something that you love to do, go visit something you haven't done in decades, and just enjoy it. I go, this has no online. This is me versus the computer. This is just me sitting in my room having fun because I have the time to have fun. Because having fun and finding those little glimpses of hope and joy in life make things better. So, until next time, my friends, as always, I love you all, and there's nothing you can do about it.